Hey everybody, this is Sage Valentine, and this is my review of Mad Men Season 7, Episode 4, entitled The Monolith. Pete Campbell meets up with a guy named George Payton, who used to work for Vicks. Vicks was Tom Vogel, for those who aren't familiar. Tom Vogel is Pete Campbell's father-in-law. And he worked for Vicks and all these other people. I think he part of Procter & Gamble? I remember Vicks though, but he was like a part of that. But anyway, George no longer works for Tom. George works for something called the Burger Chef, and he wants to work with Pete. Don comes back to the office. Don is humbled, but he sees that the office is empty. There's like a phone hanging, nobody's there. He hears commotion upstairs, goes upstairs, come to find out they are breaking ground or something on they're going to take the creative room and make it the computer room. So Don is confused, and he's like, well, you guys had a partners meeting, you didn't call me in. And everybody, well, I believe he talks to either Roger or Cutler, probably Roger, and Roger just looks at him and is basically like, we really didn't have to tell you, like, we gave you a job, be happy. So it's basically the computer's there to make Harry Crane look important. So I guess they decided not to get rid of Harry Crane. So someone mentions that the creative is like flushed down the toilet, the whole 9 yards. So Don's shut out of another meeting. He's basically a name more than a partner, and he's basically stuck in Lane Price's office. Lane Price hung himself a few seasons ago after getting himself into a whole bunch of debt. And they basically really didn't clean his office. Like, they took his body out, but to be honest, they left his Met pennant in there, and that was for his son. So Don kind of found it when he was looking for a cigarette that was rolling away. Pete and Ted call the East Coast, and they tell them about Burger Chef and everything. Jim wants Ted to run it, come home, and do the campaign. Ted's like, I don't even want to go back. He's like, put Peggy on it. Pete's like, no, and Ted's like, listen, they want a woman's touch on this. It's for housewives. It's for women. Just let her have it. So someone in the meeting on the East Coast mentions about Don. So they said, is Don not on the list? He works, I think it's Roger. He was like, well, someone says, well, put Don on it. So Lou is upset. Lou's like, I thought we had an understanding about Don. He might implode. Ergo, Lou is worried that Don is eventually going to take back his job. That is a possibility, but Lou is a little bit too paranoid at this point. To the point whereas he's like watching Don on he's just like, every time he sees Don, he's like so suspicious of everything he's doing. Cutler said, well, you may just get some good work and just drop it. So Roger's daughter, Margaret, ran away to this cult. So that episode when she was so mean to him, that was, I guess, her cry for help that Roger didn't see. Her husband claims that she got into a van with some hippies. At first they were trying to say that she joined some type of commune, but anyway, the truth was she hasn't been herself, and her husband tried to get her to go to a marriage encounter group or whatever, and Roger's wife is trying to, diffuse the situation, explain it to Roger. Roger doesn't want to listen. Let the son-in-law go on, do what he has to do, like, let him be a man. Well, Margaret's husband ends up getting arrested, so Roger and the ex-wife have to go all the way up to go find Margaret. Meanwhile, including Don, the company has 3 creative directors, Don, Lou, and Ted Keogh, although Ted is kind of like taking a backseat on work as of this season. He's really not, he's working, but he's really not like going gung-ho as he did before after what Don did to him, so. Harry, like everybody else, no longer respects Don. He's like talking to this computer dude who was like the guy from Grey's Anatomy. He got shot a couple seasons ago. And he tells the guy when he's walking away, like, talk to you later. Some of us have work to do. So that's like a shot right there towards Don, because Don really has nothing to do. He sits in his office all day. They start talking about the computer, and basically what I got out of that scene was the computer can basically put a man out of his job. That's basically what they were trying to say. So Peggy goes to Lou's office. Lou is giving her a raise, trying to, butter her up before it's giving her the news that she's the head of this group with Don. and this other guy with something with an M. And she has to run this, and she has to work with Don. So Peggy is kind of like, she's about to knock on his office door, and she's like, no, I'm not going to knock on his door. I'm going to go get the secretary to do it. The secretary does it, and she's like, Peggy wants to speak to you. And he's like, well, send her in. And she's like, no, she summoned you. So that's like a flip the script from a couple seasons ago where Peggy was at Don's beck and call at all times. So Don is getting his just desserts. Is it called just desserts or just deserves? This season. Like, he's getting everything that he put out in the universe is slapping him back. So Peggy tells Don that she's the boss. She's working with this other guy. Don just has this, like, salty face the whole time. The whole time he's just like... And the new guy that's with him, he's so happy and so joyous. So when the meeting is over, the guy thanks Peggy. Don walks out of the room. He's mad. He's upset. Picks up a typewriter, tosses it, and then he leaves with his hat and his coat or whatever. So Peggy's smirking. It's karma. So Don has to, let me see, Roger asks, I think Don has to meet with Peggy later or something like that. But Roger asked secretary the next day, is Don in the office? She says yes, and he just keeps walking, which is funny because in other seasons he would say, is Don in, and they come in and they start drinking, but Rogers is like, whatever, I'm going off. So anyway, Margaret's husband is in jail, as I think I said that before. He beat up some rednecks or something, and the ex-wife is pissed off. They're all riding up to, Roger and the ex-wife are riding up to where the hippies live or whatever. So Don's late for this meeting that, Peggy's having with the new guy so that they can discuss this account. He's sitting there playing solitaire, and the new guy comes in the room. He won't turn in his tags, and he says he's not coming to the meeting. So basically, Don stays in his office the entire day with nothing to do. He's like chatting with the computer guy who Harry Crane like somehow steals the guy away, and the way he does it is like so disrespectful because I think Don did something pretty rude to him a couple seasons ago as well. So like I said, slapping him in the face. So Don has this idea for a new business to use the new computer guy, because the computer guy has this computer business and it's fledgling and he wants to bring it up, but Bert's like he doesn't want to listen, and Don was like, well, why am I here? And Bert was like, well, why are you here? He was like, why are you here? She said, along with a dead man whose office you inhabit. They do not like Don this season at all, but Don kind of deserves it. So Don gets drunk, and he's like sitting up there. He steals some alcohol out of Roger's office, and he's like drinking. Roger and his ex go up there, trying to talk to Margaret. There is no talking to Margaret via the mother. She basically mentions something about Roger's ex-wife getting drunk in the bathroom, which she used to do, I think, in the first couple of seasons, getting drunk. And she's like, is that happiness? And the mother just wants to leave. Roger gives her his car keys and lets her go. Because Roger figures he could stay behind. He could just play the good cop and then try to get her home. Well, Don apparently passed out in his office. He's drunk. And we get back to the hippie commune, and Roger's daughter's talking about everyone does what they want in the hippie commune, and they follow the cycles of the earth, whatever. They're all pretty much high. So Freddie Rumsen comes to visit, and because Don ran and called him while he was drunk, talking about going to a baseball game. So Don's like, Freddie's trying to get Don out of there with his dignity, out of the office. Don's not listening. Don goes up to the computer guy, says some really smart alecky thing, basically makes an ass of himself to the computer guy. So Peggy's in a bad mood. She snaps at Joan because I think Peggy sees Freddie Rumsen, and he's pushing Don out. He's like, we're going to get out of here. And Don's talking about some type of like baseball game or something. So Peggy's in a bad mood. She snaps at Joan. She finally tells Joan, you know what? That they purposely gave her the account. They wanted either her or Don to fail, and he owes her work, but there's nothing that she can do about it. Joan tells Peggy, listen, there are rules set in place, and if it makes you feel any better, the partners didn't think about it at all when they gave them to you. So Roger bonds with Margaret, and at first it's really cute till Margaret goes off later with some guy and is having sex with this dude. That's when Roger's fed up with this. So Don wakes up. He's drinking coffee. Freddie Rumsen is there because Freddie took him home. Freddie's like telling him again, he's warning him a second time, listen, he was like, you have it good. You don't have to run from job to job. Basically, he's not freelance. He's like, don't give them what they want. Are you going to drink yourself to death? Are you going to kill yourself? Do the work, Don. So Roger tells his daughter, he's like, you know what, it's time to go. And he grabs Margaret. She's kicking and screaming, and he falls in the mud. And he wonders, like, how could you just leave Ellery, leave him the way that you did? And Margaret basically tugs at his heartstrings, and he's like, listen, she says, what about the time when it was my birthday and you had one of your secretaries pick out a gift for me? She's like, did you feel bad when you left for work every day? So basically she's complaining about her privileged life and how she was ignored, I guess. So Freddie Rumsen convinces Don to come in, tie up his bootstrings, get himself together, and do the work. And he tells Peggy that he'll have the tags ready by lunch. So basically this season, I do apologize because this is like a longer review, but I'm wrapping it up at this point. Basically, the partners want Don to leave, but legally they can't fire him, so they're going to make it as uncomfortable as possible for Don. And Don was pretty much falling into the trap until Freddie Rumsen basically came along and knocked some sense into him. As for Roger and Margaret, Roger can't say anything to Margaret because Roger abandoned the family. So, and the ex-wife is trying to tell him, like, I'm seeing this the way it is. You're not here. You're not seeing this. And he was like, just let the husband be the man. Yeah, he was the man, and he also got arrested. So, yeah, and Peggy is, on the one hand, she's happy that she's above Don, but on the other hand, she's just very unhappy this season. And Don, as I've said in the first couple reviews, every season ends up with Don just unhappy. And I guess this is karma slapping him back for the way that he treated Peggy and everyone else. Because he really didn't treat them like people. He treated them just like whatever. So, anywho, guys, thank you so much for watching my review. Definitely check out my other reviews that are coming pretty soon. I love doing these reviews. It's the highlight of my Sundays, my days. And now that Believe is gone, I gotta find something else to review. So, anywho, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Sage Valentine. Have a wonderful Mother's Day. Have a great week. And I'll be back for my review of 24. And I will also create a review for Rosemary's Baby. So, take care, guys. Check the links below. Love you all. Bye, guys. Bye.